Hi, folks. Welcome to the second session of this webinar series. In the celebration of World Quality Month by the Service Quality Division of American Society for Quality. In this session, we will discuss the major contribution made by Japanese quality gurus. First of all, I would like to share with you the major points of my talk today. So I would share my profile with you, and then we will talk a little bit about World Quality Month, and we will then discuss the notable contributions made by Japanese gurus like Dr. Koro Ishikawa, Taichi Ono, Dr. Shigeo Shingo, Dr. Jenichi Taguchi, Dr. Yoji Ekao, Dr. Imai Masaki, and Dr. Noriaki Kano. So first of all, a little bit about myself. My name is Zubair Anwar, and I am associated with American Society for Quality for now about 14-15 years. Professionally, I'm a thought leader at BITES Center of Excellence Global. I'm working with ASQ in various capacities and roles, like I'm a member ASQ Award Board, Service Quality Body of Knowledge Chair, member TCC QWalk Peer Group, and I also have some publications with American Society for Quality. I'm also working with Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers as a senior member. With TUM School of Management Germany, I'm supporting them in the professional education of Lean Six Sigma. With TKM College Manchester, I'm working as a fellow, and for the last almost 5 years, I've been also associated with World Conference on Quality and Improvements as a judge, moderator, and reviewer. So guys, as you know, November is celebrated as World Quality Month around the world. And international organizations such as American Society for Quality, European Foundation for Quality Management, European Organization for Quality, Japanese Society for Quality Control, a Union of Japanese Scientists and Engineers, so on and so forth, they publish guidelines and themes with all the organizations around the world in order to celebrate this month. So you may think of celebrating this as a day, a week, or even full month. This would provide an opportunity for you to revive your commitment to the global quality. So this is a chance to look at the progress that you have made this year thus far in terms of quality. You may review your quality policy, quality objectives, dashboards, your processes, your projects, your operations, and your production. How much quality you have been able to achieve, and what quality and excellence level you would wish to target the next year. So if you notice, this also falls in the last quarter of the year, where many organizations are also busy in developing their operational and aggregate plans. Today, I would talk about the notable contribution of Japanese gurus, as we said earlier. First of all, we have Dr. Koro Ishikawa, who is known as father of statistical quality control. Dr. Ishikawa, he was in favor of educating the frontline workers and foremen about the statistical techniques of quality control. He managed to publish many books for the Japanese workers in simple Japanese language. And he made it possible for the frontline workers to understand different concepts of statistics. And for this very reason, he is attributed to be democratizing the statistics. He was a strong proponent that the standards should be based upon customer needs. So one of the very important criteria in order to develop and evolve the standards should be around customer needs. And if you see today, for example, ISO 9000, for example, MBNQA, for example, EFQM, they all take into consideration the customer satisfaction and the customer needs. Ishikawa is also very popular for founding Ishikawa diagram, which is one of the 7 basic quality tools that he worked and proposed to be used by the workers as well as engineers and management. Ishikawa was of the view that 95% of the problems on the workplace can be solved by using the 7 basic classic quality tools. He is also popular for structurizing the quality circles. So the structure of quality circle present today is essentially developed by Dr. Ishikawa. We have spoken about the contribution of Dr. Juran in the last session, and I'll again mention that Dr. Juran had a chance to interact with Dr. Koro Ishikawa, and both of them exchanged knowledge. Dr. Juran made it possible to translate Japanese quality teachings into English, and likewise, Dr. Ishikawa made it possible to translate English quality publications into Japanese language. Dr. Ishikawa always argued and pleaded that in order to harness the results of quality, it has to be a company-wide commitment. So one department or 2 departments made responsible or accountable for quality would not bring results. So everyone in the organization has to be the part of mainstream of quality and excellence. In order to recognize the efforts of Dr. Koro Ishikawa, American Society for Quality has issued a medal called Ishikawa Medal. And it is awarded to an individual or a team whose work has had a major positive impact on the human aspects of quality. Just to quickly share with you the 7 basic quality tools that Koro Ishikawa founded, they include number 1, check sheet, which is essentially a data collection tool. And the beauty of this tool is that you can use it as a table, as a map, as a photograph, as a visual diagram. So this can be customized for so many things. Second is cause and effect diagram, which we call Ishikawa or fishbone diagram. And this looks like a fishbone. So in order to remove the variation from a process, Ishikawa proposed that a root cause analysis may be carried out. And the causes resulting into the effect of variation could be traced into different groups such as machine related, method related, material related, manhood or operator related, or mother nature or environment related. Sometimes we call it 5 M's. So there could be primary causes and there could be more causes behind primary that we term secondary causes, and then we could have tertiary causes. So cause and effect diagram helps us in identifying the various causes that eventually sum up and result into the effect of variation. The third tool is histogram. And this can be plotted for a qualitative data as well as quantitative data. And when we put a normal curve on these histograms, we are able to identify certain patterns that help us to identify where in the process we are having a variation and what could be the possible causes of having those variations. And next is Pareto charts, which is 80-20 principle. And we have explained this in the last session. This was actually proposed by Dr. Juran. So Dr. Ishikawa gave a method on how to draw Pareto charts and how to segregate the vital few causes from the trivial many. And just to recall that, removing vital few causes from a variation effect that would help us to substantially eliminate or reduce the impact of variation. Next is scatter diagram, which provides a means to identify the relationship amongst different variables in a process. So by plotting this diagram and comparing them to certain trends and patterns, we may predict if there is a relationship or there is no relationship. And if there is a relationship, what type of relationship it is. For example, a direct relationship, an inverse relationship, parabolic relationship, so on and so forth. 6 is flow chart, which help us to walk through a process. And once we are able to draw a flow chart, we may use it to walk through the process multiple times to see whether it is followed in the same way or differently. Last is the control chart, which were originally founded by Dr. Walter Shewhart. And control charts can be plotted for both qualitative and quantitative data. And we have different types of chart, such as X bar R chart, X bar S chart. We may have a P chart, C chart, and they help us in identifying where the special causes or vital few causes are being introduced. So we have certain trends on the data points that we watch over a period of time while we trace it for a real-time process. So now let us talk about the next Japanese guru, and it is Taiichi Ohno. Taiichi Ohno was a production manager at Toyota Motors, and he was employed by the Toyota family, and they really empowered him. Taiichi Ohno did a lot of experimentation, and by that experimentation, he was able to test a lot of ideas, which eventually resulted into the invention of Toyota production system. And in the West, it is commonly called as lean management. So he worked with some other people also that we will talk about later, and he was able to define new principles. So for example, just-in-time production. And if you could look at Toyota production system, we have Jeduka, we have Heijunka, and other pillars of Toyota production system that actually then led to the foundation of lean management. American Society for Quality, they recognized the efforts, and few years before, they published a book with the title Management Lessons from Taiichi Ohno. Taiichi Ohno is also known for popularizing the 7 forms of waste, which are called muda in Japanese language. And these 7 forms of muda or waste include, number 1, overproduction. So in Toyota production system or lean management, you produce as much as you have the order. So you don't produce in excess, and you don't produce creating backlogs. Second is inventory. So somehow lean management suggests that inventory is an evil, and all forms of inventory should be actually given up, and they hide the ugliness of process. So when you have slacks, When you have interruptions in the middle of processes, you try to store inventories, whether in the form of sub-assemblies or the finished goods. So all forms of inventory should be minimized, and ideally there should not be any inventory. The third one is waiting. So waiting of the work to be loaded onto the workstation is actually a waste. And that means the facility design should be revised and should be again considered whether this has been designed for a continuous flow, or and if there is waiting, why waiting is there. So that holds for both for service as well as manufacturing workplace. The next is motion. So unnecessary motion should be condemned. And by that, Taichi Ono was able to come up with the ideas of assembly line. And in that, what happened actually, the work used to move towards workers. Similarly, transportation, if it is non-value adding, this should be eliminated, and it would not create a value for the customer in the product or in the service. Defects, that means if you have utilized your resources, you have utilized energy, you have paid the worker, and still if there are defective pieces, that means you need to either rework or maybe you need to scrap, which is actually a waste. The last one is over processing. So you have to process up to the requirement that customer would give value. If you are over processing it, it would not give you any result. It would not bring customer satisfaction. Now let's talk about Dr. Shigeo Shingo, which is another quality guru. And he was a professor and he was a consultant to Toyota Production System. And with Taichi Ono, he worked to found a lean management, and he came up with a lot of new terminologies and new ideas that popularized Toyota Production System. And eventually Shigeo Shingo proposed integrated production system as a new manufacturing standard. So some of the terms from lean, for example, Kanban, which means visual inventory. So worker start working, for example, assembling the components, and someone comes and provides them components in the bins. The number of components provided are written on a visual card. And then once they consume it, it would be replenished. So someone would keep a check on those visual cards. Today we have technology. So now we have electronic counters. The second one is ENDEN, which is a traffic light system. So when a machine breaks down, there would be a red alert. That means the work has stopped. Someone should go and check what has happened. But before that, we have amber light. And that means if there is something happening that sensor is able to capture, and amber light is switched on or turned on, which means the workers or the foremen or the people on the process should go and see. And it is an indication that if attention is not given, the process can stop. And if all is fine, you would see a green light. That means everything is smooth. And you may see that this is also being used in service industry, even with on retails, parking system. So there is a very high level adoption of this ENDEN system. Next is Poka-yoke, which is human mistake proofing. And what is that? It is to stop the human errors, operator errors. So whereby a human mistake comes in, the system should be designed in such a way to prevent that. For example, if you open up a television from a packing, it can be repacked in only one way. For example, you see the SIM for a mobile phone, and this could be inserted only in one way, for example, with a cut on its side, so that when you try to fit it in the slot, it could be done only in one way. That is to prevent the human mistakes. Next is single minute exchange of die. So this was a new concept because dice replacement used to take a lot of time. And Shigeru Shingo argued that this time should be reduced and ideally the target should be only 1 minute. If you see a very popular application of this concept is the tire changing during a car race. So just notice how much time is taken to replace a car whenever it breaks down during, for example, Formula One race. So people are trained, they are ready with everything, and there is a technique by which tire is removed and new tire is put in. So the same concept is applied on the workplaces. The fastening of the die is done with a quick technique. It is stored, for example, near that place. And this concept is also applied in service industry. For example, looking at the number of hands-off, which are the part of a process, how to reduce them, how to set a process in order to, meet, for example, operation level agreement or service level agreement kind of things. JIT is just in time, and that we have explained. So now let's move to the next gentleman, and it is Dr. Jenichi Taguchi. Now, Dr. Taguchi, again, he was a university professor and he was able to test his concepts in the industry as well. We all know that Dr. Charles Montgomery is known for his contribution to the design of experiments, particularly in statistics. And he really kept design of experiments alive because it is a very sophisticated, expensive techniques for the workplaces. And it requires a lot of knowledge and a lot of, it's one of the core technique in black belt projects in Six Sigma. Taguchi did a lot of new things, and he is also called the father of quality engineering. He founded this discipline in engineering. And he also mathematically proved that whenever an organization deviates from its nominal target values, there is a loss function in terms of quality to the organization and to the society at large. And he also demonstrated from that parabolic function that he was able to, he did that mathematically, and he argued and demonstrated that even within the tolerance, if there is a deviation, still there would be a loss function, and this is called Taguchi loss function. The next gentleman and living legend is Dr. Imai Masaki. Dr. Masaki, on the one hand, worked with Dr. Ishikawa to found the 7 basic quality tools. He also has his own recognition by introducing some of the new Japanese concepts in quality to the whole world. In 1986, Dr. Masaki wrote a book, Kaizen, the Japan's Way to Success. And in the same year, he also founded the Kaizen Consulting and International Organization. And he traveled all over the world and shared about the Kaizen, which is small incremental improvement. So he also wrote another book with the title Gemba Kaizen. And in the West, we call it management by whacking around. So this whacking around does not mean that the management stays near the worker to keep a check on them. It is to make sure that management is present near the workers at different points of time to make sure that all the support, all the facilitation that workers require to operate the process smoothly is provided by them on spot. So this is seen as part of the empowerment and not as an authoritative approach. You will see that all the quality gurus were strong proponents of empowering the staff, but that empowerment requires a training, that empowerment requires a trust, that empowerment requires the worker to get a work pride. All of them should feel that they are the part of the mainstream. So here I would also talk about Kaikaku, which is an equivalent of Kaizen Blitz. Now, Kaizen Blitz, you might know that it is also called Kaizen event, and it is like 3 days, 4 days, or even a week long event that organization can manage. And this is essentially used to improve the cross-functional processes. So this has to be done very carefully. And for example, if there are pain points, if there are areas of trouble, if there is something that requires attention, areas for improvement, that should be included for the scope of a Kaizen Blitz. So the facilitator of the workshop should be a trained person. He or she should know how to conduct the workshop, how to address the stakeholders, how to make everyone responsible, inclusive, and participative in that workshop. So people could be made aware of the scope of that workshop, for example, on day one. Then they could be given a time to think about different alternative solutions to solve the problems. And by that, by the end of the workshop, they could come up with even temporary solution or makeshift how to move forward, or even a permanent solution. And if it does not help in one workshop, there could be follow-up workshops. So Kaizen Blitz could help the organizations to solve the problems by, this is now important, by involving the process workers, process owners, people who are present on the process. Because Japanese school of thought highly recommend that people on the process are the ones with maximum process knowledge. They know what are the bottlenecks, they know what are the showstoppers, they know what would help because of their experience and exposure, days over days, weeks over weeks, years over years. And not to forget that Dr. Masaki just celebrated his 91st birthday, and he announced that a new book is also coming up. So we really wish him a good luck. The next is Dr. Yoji Ekau. Yoji Ekau is really popular for two things that I would share with you today. One is his work on voice of customer and quality function deployment. And the other one is Hoshin Conry. So first, voice of the customer, which he pleaded that it should be a proactive way of involving the customer into the design of the product, then manufacturing of the product, and ultimately you deliver it. So this was a new approach, and he was able to propose these concepts and theory in 60s, and it was tested in 70s. For example, in Mitsubishi Corporation and in some of the industries in Japan. Later on, it made its way to the United States and the rest of the world. So for example, house of quality could be constructed by applying quality function deployment. Now this house of quality, if you could see on the slide, it looks like a house. So there is an attic, a rooftop, and basement, and drying and dining and kitchen. So if you look on the left side, you see the customer requirements, which are the functional requirements. Customer can only propose functional requirements. Now these functional requirements have to be translated into technical requirements by the engineering, R&D, and other teams. And that is actually on the ceiling of this house. And in between the lounge, you see that the functional requirements and the technical requirements could be interrelated by a relationship diagram. Similarly, if you see above the attic, we have a rooftop, and here the technical requirements could be correlated to another by another relationship diagram. On the right side, there could be a competitive assessment of the functional requirements. For example, what competitor A is offering in those functional requirements in the product or the service, what competitor B is offering in those functional requirements, so on and so forth. And then by making a comparison of the competitive assessment, organization may choose to define their own target functional requirements and values. And if you look on the basement of this house, which is the lower portion, you see you can make another comparison. So for example, competitor A, what A is offering in the technical requirements, what B is offering in those technical requirements. So this is the way of correlating the functional requirements, which is actually the customer needs and wants and requirements, to your specifications. And then you could come up with your target nominal values in those technical requirements. So this is now very popular, and actually many industries, for example, automobile, they use 4 houses, for example, for processes, for parts, for improvement, for quality control. On the right side, you see Hoshin planning matrix, which is yet another achievement of Dr. Yoji Ikao. For this achievement and breakthrough, he was recognized several times and he received several awards. So what is Hoshin planning? Hoshin planning acts as a compass needle. So if we have Hoshin matrix, you can use it as a tracking the true north. What is true north tracking? See, you come up with your 3 to 5 years plan, strategic plan, let's call it. Then you have your operational plan, 1 to 2 years. Then you set up your priorities. And then you see how often you should revisit to understand how much you have made against that. So what your current priorities are, they define your true north. If you are deviating and you go after another priority based on any reason, you would have deviation from your target values, and those would be captured in this matrix, in this compass needle. So this it's a complete method to apply, and this process is called, for example, catch ball. So Dr. Yoji Ikao was of the view that top down and bottom up approach should be used to define annual objectives, strategic plans, and tactical plans, so that everyone becomes the part of mainstream and everyone feels as such. And when there are deviations, things could be fine-tuned, things could be readjusted. The next gentleman is Dr. Noriaki Kano. Again, he is a living legend, and he was also made the honorary member of American Society for Quality a few years before. Dr. Kano, he proposed a customer satisfaction model, which was again a big achievement in the quality function deployment area. He proposed that customer requirements could be grouped into 3 categories. So when you are mapping your product or service features to the customer requirements, you should think of 3 groups. Number 1, dissatisfiers. And what are those? If you do not have dissatisfiers in the product or service, these would only lead to the dysfunction of the product or the service that customer is looking for. It will never bring customer satisfaction. And these are the implied needs of the customer, which customer even does not need to talk about. So these are called dissatisfiers. The next group is satisfiers. These would be those features of the product or service that customer has explicitly asked for. So these are the expressed needs. And having those in your product or service, which would result into having customer satisfaction. So more you embed, more satisfaction you get. The last group is exciters or delighters, which are those features of the product or service which customer did not ask for, even did not expect. But if you provide them, customers would be delighted. And in fact, this may result in creating customer loyalty. So this is something beyond customer retention. And this could help you in achieving word of mouth customer. That means customer would become your referral, your advocate, doing marketing advertisement for you through his word of mouth without you spending any cent on him. But you could think of engaging customer at that level in a more motivated manner. For example, customer loyalty programs, exemplifying the customer, engaging the customer as blogger, as influencer, as vlogger to promote your product. And this is actually represented in the form of a graph on the screen if you could look at. So, but very important thing that satisfiers and delighters are relevant. When your competitors start offering the same things, these are degraded. Delighter becomes satisfier become dissatisfier. So that means you need to revisit this after a certain period of time. So this was all from my side for today's session. I'm sure that you would be able to make benefit out of this talk, and you could choose some of the teachings of these gurus to understand and apply in your organization. Now remember that quality and excellence are the eventual solution for the individual professionals as well as the organizations. And as a global leader, American Society for Quality is helping the folks all over the world in understanding the quality and excellence, and to eventually make it part of the life, part of community, and part of the nation. So I really thank you very much. And my last message is to invite you to join American Society for Quality and its divisions, for example, Service Quality Division, to join hands together to understand the frameworks, promote them, develop them, and reciprocate the benefits to the community and to the global society. So I really appreciate your time and attention for this important webinar. If you have any questions, please feel free to approach us through our MyASQ and other social media handles. Thank you very much.